Yes. So I am very pleased to introduce to you Martha Banderas from New Hanover County Schools and Adriana Marston from Duplin County Schools. I would say that they're not new faces for most of us. And so they're here to share their leadership with us. Martha, Adriana?
Yes, good morning. Hi, it's nice to be here. I'm Marta Banderas. I'm the ESL lead teacher for New Hanover County Schools, and this is my 6th year with the district here.
Okay, and I'm Adriana Marston, and this is my 6th year as an ESL lead teacher, but it's my 15th year in Duplin County.
Okay. Okay, we are here to share a great resource that has been very helpful to my teachers, especially with the beginning ESL teachers and for content area teachers that work with English learners. So this is maybe some of you are familiar, is the GoTo Strategies. This booklet represents 5 core principles that are essential to the academic success of English learners. I have listed the principles here on this slide. So for principle 1, focus on academic language literacy and vocabulary. This is teaching students the skills they need for content learning. Principle 2, link background knowledge and culture to learning. Teachers need to incorporate ways to engage the students using their life experiences and prior knowledge. Principle 3, increase comprehensible input and language output, making meaning clear through visual demonstrations, giving English learners opportunities to produce language. This is important, and we, for this presentation, we have selected principle 3 that we will look a little deeper in our next slides. Principle 4, promote classroom interaction. Teachers need to encourage English learners to use the academic English within the classroom. Principle 5, stimulate higher order thinking and the use of learning strategies. This is important also as it helps English learners to become effective and independent learners. So all these principles are a guide and important, and you can find the link that we put here in the slide is you can Google the booklet, and also it is filed in the live binders. So you can see here, thank you for opening the link. And it has about 100 pages that you can download and print it. And that's what I have done here. I printed the booklet and gave it to the teachers so they can have it in their handy. So we are going to scroll and look at a few parts of the booklet, as we don't have time to look at the whole booklet, but you have there to look at when you have a chance. So if we go to page 10, starting on page 10, we can see that each of the principles have a list of the activities that are for scaffolding instruction. So they're there to select the activities. And if we look at the principle 3 on page 12 that we are going to be talking about, all these strategies that are there are to scaffold instruction. And one of the strategies that they are listed on this principle 3 is the video observation guides. So we are going to talk a little bit about that in our next slides. So if we continue scrolling down, we go to page 14, and there you have the strategies for the last principle. And this booklet presents 78 research-based strategies that are considered best practices to teach English learners. So if we go jump a little bit to page 29, just to see the format of the activities, we can see that each activity is individually represented. It has 2 column charts for each activity, describing the teacher's action and the student's action, as well as the language proficiency level and the teaching and learning purpose, and also the classroom setting for the activity. So you can see how handy resource this is for the teachers and why they like it. They have right away and ready to use the activities according to what they are teaching and what principle they want to enhance in the classrooms. Okay, so if we go to next slide, please.
Oh, you want the next slide?
Yes, the next slide. Okay, on the next slide, you can look at this booklet and at your own time and have your own appreciation of the booklet. So we are going to go to slide 3, where I have in this slide 3 that I would like to feature at this time is the GoTo Strategies matrix. This matrix you will find in the booklet on page 19, and it shows selected strategies by language skill. So by listening, reading, and writing, if the teacher wants to focus on one of those strategies, and by language proficiency. So this is a guide that also is handy with the teachers. What I did is I made a copy of this matrix, and teachers can have it as a resource to use it quickly according with the skills that they want to be working to scaffold instruction in their grade level. And at the top of this slide, you have the link also again for the GoTo Strategies booklet. And this one is on the live binders. So you can find in both places. We go to next slide here. And as I stated at the beginning, we have selected principle 3. That is increased comprehensible input and language output, as this is important for students that the teachers make meaning clear and give the opportunities for students to talk and communicate within the classroom using an academic language. So we are going to talk a little more about this principle, and Adriana in the next slide, she's going to enhance about principle 3.
Thank you, Marta. Yes, so when we think of comprehensible input, we think of Stephen Krashen. In his opinion, extensive reading is the ultimate comprehensible input activity. Language learners have to acquire this language in the same way that a native speaker would, which is natural. This language is naturally acquired through extensive pre-reading, says Krashen, talking about second language acquisition. And here we would like to show you some classroom strategies, classroom activities that teachers can use with their English learners. The first one is to encourage 10 to 15 minutes of class time for free reading. Many students, believe it or not, about 99% of them have never read a single novel or comic book or even a newspaper article in English for fun. That's pretty impressive, right? 99%. So some examples of free reading would be starting with comic books, easy novels, progressing to science fiction books, then journal articles, and finally serious textbooks in a particular area of interest. There are different pathways to fluency, but they all involve reading texts of progressively increasing difficulty for pleasure. So that is key, reading for pleasure, free reading for pleasure in the classroom. Another thing that teachers can do is to provide interesting input to students by bringing in realia, and we all know that realia is real life objects, and by connecting new content with students' life experiences. Teachers should also ensure that they provide a low anxiety classroom environment by encouraging collaboration instead of competition, and by maintaining decreased stress levels. All right, we can move to the next slide, please. All right, so, and this brings us basically to Stephen Krashen's affective filter that I'm sure all of you have already heard of. The affective filter refers to the student's emotional state and preparedness to acquire a second language or a new language. Negative feelings such as lack of motivation or lack of self-confidence that so many of our ELs are dealing with, especially when they are newcomers, or other negative feelings such as learning anxiety, they all act as filters that hinder language learning. According to Stephen Krashen, when the affective filter is high, which means when students feel unwelcome, uncomfortable, or stressed, for example, then the language acquisition is low, and vice versa. When the affective filter is low, that means when students feel welcome, they feel invited, they like the teacher, and they generally feel good in the classroom, then the language acquisition is high. So really, we do want to keep a low affective filter for our ELs in order to acquire a new language. Okay, next slide, please. So then how can teachers ensure that the students have a low affective filter and low anxiety levels? One way to do it is by choosing appropriate speech for students' English proficiency levels when we provide instruction. Teachers can start with using simple sentence structures and increase the level of complexity as the students become more proficient in English. It is also very important that teachers enunciate clearly and adjust the rate of speech to their students' level of proficiency. And lastly, it's important to avoid idioms because English learners may have difficulties understanding them unless they are taught in context. So imagine saying something like, I'm sorry you feel under the weather, but now you don't need to throw her under the bus. So if you would say such a sentence in front of the students, most likely they will take it as is, and they would imagine somebody is being thrown under a bus. So English learners would really have a hard time understanding what you mean. And the best way to teach idioms is in context. We may want to add visuals when we teach entire paragraph so they can figure out easily what you mean when you use idioms. And now let's remember that before we go to that slide, let's remember that the best language to use when teaching is straightforward, clear, and accompanied by a visual. Okay, next slide, please. And now Marta will talk to you more about some books that include the comprehensible input.
Yes, thank you, Adriana. So here we have a little of some more resources where you can find ideas and strategies that teachers can scaffold instruction using Principle 3, increasing comprehensible input and language output to have students talk in the classroom. And we have selected from the ELL teacher toolbox that is by Larry Ferlasso. Maybe I hope you are familiar. And I just find out that sadly is offering that she has some copies in her office of the EL teacher toolbox. So if you would like a copy of this book that has a lot of strategies, please email Sadly and she will have it to you. So the activity that we selected for Principle 3 is a video activity. As we saw in the GoTo Strategies, one of the suggestions for the strategy is video observation guides. So Larry Ferlasso in this book has a very good activity on this page with different ways on how to use video in the classroom. So take a time to look at this. It's so important. It's a great way of helping English learners to understand content and to talk. And this is an effective, very effective way to scaffold instruction in any of the content areas. So this is a great resource to share with content teachers And I really recommend you this book also, and look at these activities for enhancing the comprehensible input, and to have students talking by using these visuals and videos that Larry is showing here. Those videos are fun and something that I'm sure teachers like it, and that's my experience here. Teachers have used this, and I have received a very good feedback of using these resources. And don't forget to email Sattler about a copy. Okay, with that being said, we have one more slide, and Adriana is going to finalize with that. Adriana, in our next slide.
I'm waiting for it to show up. Yes. All right. And here we would like to introduce you to the other type of strategies that you can find in the booklet, the GoTo Strategies. So these strategies would include teaching, ELs, student learning strategies, community building strategies, vocabulary teaching strategies, reading strategies, and finally some strategies for writing. And as we can see, they are varied. And the very nice part about it is that everyone can reach out to whatever they need at one point in time. If they are teaching ELs writing and they are in need of some writing strategies, then they would just go to the writing strategies and find out more about how they can best teach their English learners. So it is a wonderful resource to have. All right, and now if you have questions.
If you have any questions, thank you.